What's the difference between belief and science? Scientific knowledge carries on progressing. Belief stays constant. Do I have any beliefs? No. Because investigation carries on. Therefore, what I do is much more akin to science than belief. What is wrong with the New Age movement? It encourages belief and then prevents individual development through belief. What is magic? An attempt to create results, sometimes using religious ideas or practices. What is it that separates religion from magic? Although there is a bit of an overlap between the subject of magic and the subject of religion, the two are not identical. Religion itself is not magic, and magic itself is not religion, but magic incorporates certain religious ideas, concepts, in the execution of its practices. However, magic is, by its very nature, a scientific attempt to analyze the way that the world works. How can you justify using the word science when you're talking about religious things? The word science refers to the search for the truth. It certainly does not mean finding the truth. And this is a differentiation that many people ignore. The word science refers to the methodologies of investigation into nature in order to try and find out what is most likely to be true under some circumstances, or the circumstances of the clean room of an experiment. Thus, one can be scientific about the natural world, even when we are using religious phenomena and ideas. This seems to create a bit of a problem, because on one hand, you're suggesting that religion and magic are separate, but you're saying that magic has a scientific aspect to it. Can you go into that in greater detail? Yes, well, certainly. If you were to approach any phenomena in the world, you could still analyze it scientifically and place your beliefs outside the box. If you were someone who knew that there are different schools of thought, there's the positivistic approach, there's the anti-positivistic approach, and then there's the introspective approach used in the school of thought of psychoanalysis, all of which are useful to a certain degree, and all of the information gained through history can also be used in various different ways. We can look, for instance, at the miracles of religion. We can look, for instance, at the stories that have been written by other clairvoyants or practitioners of the occult, and try and work out what these practitioners were trying to say. We can think carefully about the experiments in question, whether these people were using hypnotic means, meditative means, whether there was something about the rituals and visualizations that they were doing that could have had an effect. We can correlate these with the findings of neuroscience, and then we can try and work out how these particular phenomena could be replicated, if those particular phenomena had replicatability. It's, to a certain degree, a question of trial and error. But often when we're doing our experiments, because these are experiments, we're analyzing the assumptions about the way the world works from a particular person, from a particular point of view. Often, the experiments, in colloquial language, fail. However, this is not necessarily a bearing on the phenomenon that is under investigation, but much more a bearing upon the model of the world that a particular person had. It takes further research, investigation, and experimentation to try and come closer to the truth. It is scientific because it is to do with progress over time, accumulating knowledge, and for the home practitioner, knowledge of your own body and your own mind from a certain set of points of view. Well, obviously that's very interesting. I suppose it might shed some theoretical light on the nature of your soul. But what's the use? What's the point? From the point of view of the magician, we don't think about the existence of the soul, nor do we care for it. We're trying to investigate the natural world. We're not trying to investigate theology, although some people have used the word magic as an excuse to experiment more with theological concepts. The word magic refers to the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with the will, and therefore has no connection with matters relating to the existence of the soul, nor does it have any bearings on any real theological matters. We use theological concepts as tools, nothing more and nothing less. But on the subject of what's the use and what's the point, firstly, it's interesting. It's interesting to speculate and investigate more about the nature of humanity, more about the nature of nature itself. Also, there are certain things which we could possibly use with the passage of time to assist with human communication and could have some positive benefits for human health if they are better understood. Yeah, right. So you're saying you can cure diseases? I'd like to see that. Although some people of dubious mentality do make claims to be able to cause miraculous healing, these are usually religious conmen rather than people who are trying to investigate the way the world works. A side benefit of going through the processes of occult developments includes the practice of meditation. It is probable, and note I say probable, not possible, that more in-depth meditative type exercises could start to have a more profound effect upon the human body and human mind over a passage of time. This needs to be investigated so that we can actually give people health benefits in the long term. It's not just about trying to be a miraculous healer who can save the world from all of its diseases. It's much more about trying to find out about the way the world works. But you're a tarot reader. You don't believe in all that rubbish, do you? Metaphysics, which includes contemplative practices, is obviously split up into a wide variety of different sections. One of these sections is that related to entertainment, as well as the delving into one's own mind or the mind of somebody else using contemplative tools. A tarot reading is a contemplative tool, it's an inspiration gaining tool, and it helps people to contemplate their own lives. And it's also regarded as an entertainment service. That is separate from saying that if I was to use a pack of tarot cards, I would somehow be able to establish the atomic weight of uranium. Okay, but what about Ouija boards? You don't believe in any of that rubbish, do you? You don't believe in ghosts, do you? When looking at a wide variety of metaphysical or occult ideas, it's often wise to start with from that which is known, such as neuroscience and psychology. There's something called the ideomotor effect, which means that there can be some operations of the consciousness which can create the movements of the planchette on a Ouija board from the fingers of the operator. The only thing that we can say is that consciousness moves the planchette. We cannot precisely say what mechanism could affect the result. We do not know, for instance, whether it is just the mind of the person using the Ouija board that is affecting the message which comes out, or whether there is another alternate source. From a scientific standpoint, the use of the Ouija for psychological investigation is perfectly valid. If anything else happens, that merely adds to your understanding of what a Ouija board could then be used for. But what about ritual magic? Don't you have to believe in the gods, angels and demons that you deal with? Again, when we talk about magic, we're talking about the attempt to be miraculous. We're not talking about creating any concrete results. And I would say it's actually more beneficial if you do not believe in the spirits that you're dealing with in ritual magic than if you did. We could say that these are forms of flowing or theatrical meditation designed to create an effect on your mind and possibly on the outside, but that's as far as we can go.